In the latest Alien Earth Episode 5, the new alien lifeform Ocellus, also known as the eyeball alien, had a fight against the one and only Xenomorph. This weird new alien has a massive eyeball as its central body. It can hijack and control humans using their bodies as hosts. When it took over the engineer called Shmuel during the events that led to the crash of the USCSS Maginot, it revealed its cunning intelligence and also its terrifying parasitic and aggressive nature. Its fight with the Xenomorph happened close to the end of episode 5. As it took control of Shmuel's body, it leapt onto the Xenomorph's back, biting onto the creature's neck and forcing it into a direct struggle against the human host. After the Xenomorph killed Shmuel's body, Ocellus burst free from the eye socket and continued its assault against the alien, clinging onto the head of the Xenomorph and struggling to fight. However, the Xenomorph eventually managed to shake it off, but not before appearing rattled enough to retreat, which is an unprecedented moment in canon, which made the alien, the Xenomorph, go into panic mode. Let's begin with its origins. The name of this eyeball alien is Trypanohyncha ocellus, which can be broken down into 3 parts. The genus name, which bears 2 words, Tripano and Hinka. So Tripano comes from the Greek word called Trypanon, which means to bore or drill. Then the other part of the genus name, which is Hinka, likely comes from the word Hincus, which means a proboscis or a tube-like beak. Then the species name ocellus means eye. Thus, its name actually means a drilling proboscis eye. It was collected by the crew of the USCSS Maginot, a mission that spanned for 65 years and returned to Earth in the year 2120. Contained aboard the ship for study, Trypanohyncha ocellus was one of several alien specimens gathered in deep space, but it quickly distinguished itself as both a uniquely intelligent and alarmingly dangerous creature. So when the Maginot crash landed into Prodigy City on Earth, Ocellus escaped captivity, revealing itself to be more than just a parasitic oddity. Now when we take a look at its biology and structure, the Ocellus is a small parasitic organism shaped like a smooth fleshy eyeball with multiple retractable tentacles sprouting from beneath it. Its central orb is highly adaptive. It can alter the number of pupils it displays, seemingly at will, which suggests a flexible and possibly multi-spectral visual system. Its tentacles are extraordinarily strong for their size, serving not only as locomotion and gripping appendages, but also as an invasive tool designed to burrow into the ocular cavities of living beings. So once lodged in an eye socket, the tentacles extend through the neural pathways into the brain, hijacking the host's nervous system. This grants the parasite complete control over its victim's body, with near instantaneous implantation and asserting its dominance right then and there. Now when we take a look at its parasitic nature, unlike most parasites, Ocellus takes over the body and controls it at will. Its control was so thorough that it could produce alien vocalizations, as in inhuman chirps and sounds like the Xenomorph sounds, through the host's body, the mouth of a human, let's say. The parasite's method of entry is as gruesome as it is efficient. It literally replaces an organism's eye, taking root in the socket and using the optic nerve as its gateway into the brain. From there, it overrides neural transmissions, effectively turning the host into a puppet. This makes the ocellus a neural parasite, which is a specific type of parasite that targets and affects the nervous system, particularly the brain or the spinal cord of a host organism. These parasites can interfere with the host's neural function in various ways, often manipulating behavior, motor control, emotion, or decision making. So this Ocellus is not just a mindless neural parasite, but one that displays clear evidence of high intelligence, problem-solving skills, and actual intent. Laboratory testing indicated that it has unusually high gamma wave activity, which suggests that it has complex sentience and strategic awareness. It could recognize threats, as seen when it became wary of Moro aiming a gun at it, and it used distraction tactics such as tapping on its glass to lure attention away from the other escaping specimens. Its actions aboard the Maginot suggest selective reasoning. For instance, when it possessed Shmuel, it incapacitated the captain rather than infecting her, leaving its motives ambiguous to say the least. Even earlier in the episode, when the alien leech broke free from its container, the eyeball was seen to be alerting the scientists on what was happening, but to no avail. But some say that it was distracting, but this is still up to debate. But most strikingly, when confronted with a Xenomorph, it not only resisted but actively attacked the alien, biting the alien and fighting on even after its host body was destroyed. So that's where we are, that's where the main question comes along. Why did the Trypanohyncha ocellus attack the Xenomorph? Was it being defensive, trying to hijack the alien as a host, or are there other things that we don't know? So here, We will show you 5 reasons why it attacked the Xenomorph inside the Magno, and you can make up your own mind as to which one fits the shoe, which one is accurate. Let's get to it. Number 1. Acting in self-defense. The most straightforward explanation for T. ocellus' behavior is self-preservation. The Xenomorph is an apex predator whose presence alone would register as an imminent existential threat to any other organism in the area. Many species in nature, when cornered by a predator, lash out not to dominate but to simply survive. For example, an octopus may squirt ink and bite if attacked by a moray eel, even if it normally avoids confrontation. In the same way, when the Xenomorph closed in on Shmuel's body, T. ocellus launched a preemptive attack, sinking Shmuel's teeth into the creature's neck. The decision to strike first may have been a calculated move. By going on the offensive, T. ocellus increased its chance of deterring the predator, even if it's only long enough for it to survive. This explains why it ultimately retreated after the failed attempt. The fight was not necessarily for victory but about staying alive. However, this first reason might not actually be true, as earlier we saw the T. ocellus in Shmuel's body chirping out the Xenomorph sounds to attract it to its vicinity, so that would complicate things, wouldn't it? So now let's go to reason number 2. Pure aggressive instinct. T. ocellus may be operating under a more primal drive, eliminating rival predators in its vicinity. Most carnivores in the animal kingdom will attack other predators not because they are prey, but because they represent competition for territory and for dominance. Lions, for instance, will kill hyenas outright, not for food, but to enforce territorial dominance and supremacy. On the Magno, T. ocellus has already claimed Shmuel's body and the immediate area as its domain. When it sensed the Xenomorph approaching, it didn't really wait to be hunted. It called it out by chirping in Xenomorph-like clicks, essentially issuing a challenge. This shows behavior more akin to a territorial aggression than passive defense. By striking the Xenomorph first and targeting its head, the presumed seat of its senses, the T. ocellus may be trying to assert dominance over its new territory, establishing itself as the deadlier predator in the hierarchy. But that didn't really happen as planned, did it? So let's go to number 3, defending its food source. Though T. ocellus showed little empathy towards humans, it likely killed Shmuel and used him as a host. It might still recognize other humans as valuable resources. Like a parasite guarding its cattle, the eye could have been defending its access to fresh hosts from a predator that would otherwise wipe them out. There are parallels in nature. Brood parasites like cuckoos will defend host nests from other threats, not to protect the chicks but to ensure their own reproductive success. Similarly, parasitoid wasps sometimes guard their immobilized prey so that nothing else can interfere with the larva inside of it. On the ship, T. ocellus incapacitated Captain Zaverny instead of killing her, possibly saving her as a backup future host. When the Xenomorph entered the equation, it became a direct threat to the eye's future pool of hosts, so the parasite lashed out aggressively. In that sense, the attack on the Xenomorph may have been about resource protection more than, altruism or a fight for dominance or supremacy. But reason 4 here might debunk the other 3 reasons. The fight could also hint at a deeper, possibly evolutionary rivalry between the T. ocellus and the Xenomorph. The fact that T. ocellus vocalized in Xenomorph-like clicks before the encounter suggests not only mimicry but a form of communication or challenge. Some species in the real world evolve specifically to oppose or counteract others, like snakes and mongooses for instance, existing in a long evolutionary arms race, the Red Queen hypothesis, where one's venom is matched by the other's resistance. If T. ocellus has historically crossed paths with a Xenomorph in its evolutionary environment, the aggression could stem from a survival dynamic where both species recognize each other as ultimate rivals. The eye may simply be hardwired to see the Xenomorph as a natural enemy and might even have vendetta against the species, as it was able to communicate in Xenomorph-like clicks, which might mean that it either has a great sense of hearing, like Wendy, or it has a history with the creatures and thus can mimic the sound. This would explain how it was able to call on the creature, and also in its immediate decision to attack the Xenomorph and then go for the head, possibly aiming for the sensory cluster, which means it might know the Xenomorph's weak spots. However, reason 5 here might be the simplest yet the most accurate reason, and it was only seeking the ultimate host. Finally, the most chilling possibility is that T. ocellus was not just fighting the Xenomorph but attempting to infect it and hijack its body. Its attack pattern supports this theory. It launched at the head, where eyes, or in the Xenomorph's case, sensory structures would theoretically be. That's the exact method it uses to hijack human hosts, suggesting that it was attempting to breach and implant itself into the alien. If true, This would elevate T. ocellus from being a parasite of humans to a parasite of predators, seeking the ultimate host. Real-world parasites often seek out larger or stronger organisms to increase survival odds, such as parasitic barnacles taking over larger and larger crabs. The eye's retreat after failing to gain its motive could indicate it realized the attempt was unsuccessful, but not necessarily that it had been defeated. If T. ocellus is truly capable of targeting xenomorphs as hosts, it would explain why it actively sought one out and may set a stage for a horrifying escalation in the future of the series. But can it actually succeed in its attempt to take over a xenomorph if such was the case? See, unlike humans or other creatures, xenomorphs are covered in a biomechanical exoskeleton that provides it with natural armor, especially around the head. The sensory and neural centers are heavily reinforced, making them nearly impossible to pierce with anything less than strong bullets or claws of similar strength. The T. ocellus typically invades through the eye socket, but xenomorphs don't have conventional eyes. That means the eye's usual method of entry doesn't even exist on its host. Even if T. ocellus somehow managed to breach the xenomorph's skull, the process would involve puncturing tissue saturated with pressurized acidic blood, and not just any acidic blood but acid that is the most powerful in science fiction, and that is where it would be oxidized in seconds. Then adding to this impossibility is the trace element of the black goo pathogen within the xenomorph biology, which might or might not be canon here in the series. Anyway, the pathogen is hyper-adaptive, rewriting genetic structures on anything it comes into contact with. So instead of hijacking the neural pathways, it would be overridden, corrupted, or assimilated by the alien pathogen, likely transformed into anathema. When you combine the armored skulls, acidic blood, and the unstable black goo pathogen inside the xenomorph, the odds of successful parasitism by the T. ocellus drops to 0. The parasite's methods are finely attuned for hosts with accessible neural or sensory pathways, but not for biomechanical nightmares like xenomorphs. The attempt in episode 5 demonstrates ambition, but in reality it's like a leech trying to feed on a tank of acid. It's fundamentally incompatible. And so with that, we come to the end of this video on Alien Earth and the T. ocellus attacking the xenomorph and the reasons why it did. Now, if you like this video, then watch this other one too, the one in the end screens. Do hit that like button for support, and for the ones viewing this in their phones, do also press the hype option for hyping up the video to other viewers. Also subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, fam.